And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we are talking about the most recent signings here for the Washington Commanders as they pick up cornerback Jonathan Jones. And also, too, they pick up defensive end Deatrich Weiss Jr. And so we're going to be talking about the impact that both of these players are going to have on the Washington Commanders defense. We're also going to be doing an update here around free agency as we do have some more re-signings coming back to the Washington Commanders along with contract reconstruction too. So we're going to talk about that. And so let's go ahead and start with, this most recent signing, and we'll start here with Jonathan Jones. And so, look, if you're not familiar with Jonathan Jones, he's been in the NFL for 9 seasons. And he is a two-time Super Bowl winner. In fact, he was on the Patriots Super Bowl team where they won it in Super Bowl 51 and Super Bowl 53. Looks like that it is going to be a one-year deal that he's coming in on. And so, look, when you look at just what Jonathan Jones can do, immediately what jumps off the tape is just the fact that he has the it factor when it comes to tackling and just coming up in run support. I think that that is the one thing that Jonathan Jones really shows. He shows the ability to come up and definitely, look, he is going to he's going to put some force on whoever's running the football. So I love that about him, the physicality that we should expect from him at the cornerback position. But also the next thing that I love about Jonathan Jones is the fact that, look, he has 11 forced fumbles. And so this guy really understands how to dislodge the football from offensive players. And so, look, sign me up for a player that can generate turnovers, because we see in the playoffs this last season how important generating turnovers are. And then you think about adding this to a Washington Commanders team that is already on the rise offensively. So if you're able to generate turnovers and now you're starting to flip the field with the way that this offense has shown its ability to really, kind of run down the clock and just kind of wear defenses down, I think that this is going to be a huge impact. And I think that he has plenty left in the tank because, look, last season was a tough season for the New England Patriots because, look, the defense was on the field, a lot. And this guy still was out there, I think, making plays. And so I throw, the rankings and all that stuff out the window. I'm just looking at what I saw. And so I think that this guy can definitely be an impact player for the Washington Commanders. And then when you talk about just what the Commanders are trying to build with the players that are competitive, they have the character and they have the standard and the culture that the Washington Commanders want, then this is exactly what you get, from Jonathan Jones. I think that once again, Adam Peters is going out and he has made a signing here that has a lot of upside and it's a value deal. And so the upside is that this guy is going to have, I think one of his better seasons with the Washington Commanders. I do think that that is going to happen. Look, he's going to be in a winning situation. And I also think that this is going to be one of those deals where it is going to really turn into some real value. And I love the fact that he has won at the highest level, between him and Deatrich Weiss. I think that the real advantage here is that there is not an offense that these players have not seen. And so I think you bring that type of experience to the defense, it is certainly going to help us out. And so next, I wanted to talk about the next signing here, and that is going out and getting edge player here, Deatrich Weiss Jr. And so, look, I think that once again, the Washington Commanders, I think, hit on this one because you're getting a player that, he has won a Super Bowl with the Patriots. And I think that this is a guy that certainly can help this Washington Commanders team as far as the pass rush is concerned. And so, look, we're getting ready to bring up his stats, and just one of the reasons why I like him so much, because I think that when you look at the sacks, look, he had 5 sacks last year. Dante Fowler Jr. had 10.5 sacks for us, and he led us. And so, look, he's already half the way there. And like I said before, it was a tough year for the Patriots across the board. And so, when you look at his stats, again, the one thing that jumps out is the fact that he got the 5 sacks. That is just 2.5 sacks off his career best. And what I like, too, is that he can play either the 5 or the 4 technique, meaning that, he can line up on the outside, or you can push him inside. And I think either way, he's going to be a player that can really cause some havoc. I like the fact that he also pursues well. And so that means that when a quarterback was forced to step up in the pocket, I think that he takes very good pursuit lanes and he's able to run down opposing quarterbacks. And so I saw that often on his tape. And I like the fact that, look, he is a guy that is going to generate some pressure. And so now you're talking about bringing in Jonathan Jones with this secondary, which I think is going to be a lot better. Let's see what the Washington Commanders are still going to do via free agency and the draft. But you're talking about the secondary getting better, and that is going to make these quarterbacks hold on to the football longer. That is going to give Deatrich, Wise, and just everybody else really on the line or whoever is coming, maybe via blitz, more time to get to these quarterbacks. And I think that he is a guy that is going to really benefit from the improved secondary play for the Washington Commanders. And I also think that, look, he does add some value in the run game. I know it's maybe is not as much, but I definitely think he is a player that can certainly help seal the edge for us there too. I didn't necessarily see, too much where he was undisciplined in that way. And so that is another thing that we absolutely need help on. And that is coming up and setting the edge, because we know the Washington Commanders really struggled in the run game. We got gashed there. And so we need that. And so look, quietly, I think that this is yet again another one of these. Look, I think it's going to be a value deal. I think it's an upside deal in this. And I also think that you're bringing in a player that fits just what you're looking for as far as being competitive, the character, the standard, and the culture that the Washington Commanders are looking for. I think that really Adam Peters is really hit on both of these guys. And so, look, I think that there is a ton to like about these players. And like I said, I mean, it was a tough year for the Patriots last year. And I think you put these guys into this situation with the Washington Commanders, and I think that they still have a ton here in the tank. And so next, I wanted to talk here about the Washington Commanders and just really the free agency and just talking about, some of the moves that we're seeing here that are definitely going to impact this football team. And so let's start with the fact that the Washington Commanders are bringing back Noah Brown. And so, look, this is, I think, a big signing here, because when you look at Noah Brown, you look at what he was able to do, last season for us. I think that, if he would have been able to finish out the season, I certainly think that he would have been right behind Terry McLaurin. Who knows? I mean, how far he would have gone. But look, Noah Brown showed us that, look, he can pretty much run anything in the route tree. He certainly showed us that he works just fine with Terry McLaurin. I think that, look, you can utilize him in the screen game. I think he can still stretch a defense as well, as far as going over the top. And I definitely love him over the middle of the field as well. And so, look, this was a tough year because he didn't get a chance to finish it. I know, like the Houston year, he still had more yards and his averages were higher. He had just one more touchdown, but still, I think he would have had a ton more production had he not got hurt. And so I think that his role is going to be big this year. In fact, I think it's going to be a lot bigger than what it was a year before. And right now, currently for his career, he's at 2,000 career yards. And so he's got 6 touchdowns, 13.3 is his average, and that's on 150 receptions. And oh, by the way, look, his last year with the Washington Commanders, he had 35 receptions. That is the second most in his career, dating back to when he played with the Dallas Cowboys in 2022. So I do expect for that to go up, along with his targets as well. He only got 56, but remember, he did not get a chance to finish the season. And so next up for the Washington Commanders, just looking at another thing that has happened here in free agency is that, look, we are seeing that now offensive lineman Andrew Wylie has restructured his deal. And so it looks like that his deal, it didn't necessarily have any guaranteed money is what I'm reading here. And it looks like that what they're going to do is he can earn back some money via incentives. So I think maybe a little bit of a guarantee, but he's also going to have to work and get to these incentives here to make the money back. And so, with this restructure of the deal, look, Andrew Wylie, I think that he was a terrific player for us up front. I think he's definitely going to be dependent upon a lot here moving forward now, especially with what has happened to Sam Cosmi. He's going to be out. So I definitely think that, look, he is definitely going to be a player the Washington Commanders can depend on. He did not give up a sack last season as well. And so that has to speak volumes for him. And I think that when you pair him now with Tunsil and then also too with Brandon Coleman, I think that, look, this offensive line has definitely gotten better, which is a great thing. We want to see Jaden Daniels get even more protection. And so, look, I think that the offensive line is trending in the right direction. I love what Adam Peters is doing. Let's see if he decides to do, some more via free agency or via the draft. But these are two free agency moves that the Washington Commanders have made. And so anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking here around this. Do you think that, look, this was a good move to go ahead and get Andrew Wylie restructured? Also, too, what do you think about Noah Brown, who is coming back to the Washington Commanders? And then what do you think about the Commanders pretty much going ahead and getting a pair of players that have been Super Bowl champions in Jonathan Jones at the cornerback position, and then also, too, Deatrich Wise at the edge for the Washington Commanders? And so I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Make sure that you press that like and subscribe button. And as we always say, go Commanders, and I will see you on the next one. All right, peace.